Here's something nobody talks about. And honestly, after what I'm about to tell you, you'll understand exactly why they don't. There's a study published in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology that found women are significantly more attracted to men who display what researchers call high perceived selectivity. In plain English, women chase men who act like they have options, not men who act desperate to be chosen. And that's just the beginning of what psychology has figured out about this. Now, before you roll your eyes and think, oh great, another video telling men to play hard to get, stop. That's not what this is. What I'm about to show you goes so much deeper than that surface level advice. These are four actual psychological traits, backed by behavioral science, attraction research, and honestly, my own embarrassing personal experience as a woman that make a woman's brain literally shift from passive interest to active pursuit. And the wildest part? Most men stumble onto one of these traits by accident, feel confused when women suddenly start chasing them, and then immediately ruin it by doing the wrong thing. That tragic mistake? We'll get to it. Stay with me. Let me ask you something honest. Have you ever noticed how some men, not necessarily the most handsome, not the wealthiest, not the tallest guys in the room, somehow always seem to have women orbiting around them? Women texting first, women making excuses to be near them, women dropping hints so obvious they might as well be wearing a sandwich board that says, please notice me. And then there's the guy who does everything right. He's kind. He responds immediately. He compliments her constantly. He makes himself completely available. And somehow, she stops texting back. I've been that woman. I've chased the man who barely seemed interested, and I've ignored the man who was perfectly lovely but had zero psychological pull. And for years, I couldn't explain why. I just felt it. That invisible magnetic force that either exists between two people or it doesn't. But here's the thing, it's not invisible, it's not magic, it's not some mysterious cosmic chemistry. It is psychology. Measurable, documented, repeatable psychology. So, today I'm breaking open the vault. As a woman, I'm telling you exactly what traits trigger that chasing behavior in us. Not because I'm betraying some girl code, but because honest information creates better relationships, and better relationships make the world a significantly less dramatic place. Let's talk about all four. This one surprises people every single time, so let me be precise about it. Confidence, in psychological terms, is not about how loud you are. It's not about dominance or bravado or posting gym selfies with no caption. Research from the University of California found that women consistently rate self-assuredness as one of the top 3 most attractive non-physical traits in a partner. But the word that matters there is self-assuredness, meaning the source of the confidence is internal, not dependent on external validation. Here's what that looks like in real life, and this is where it gets interesting. A man who needs a woman's approval to feel good about himself, even subtly, telegraphs that dependency in ways he doesn't realize. He laughs a little too hard at her jokes. He changes his opinion the moment she pushes back. He checks his phone every 3 minutes to see if she replied. Women pick up on these signals not because we're calculating or cruel, but because our brains are wired for survival pattern recognition. And historically, a man who needed constant reassurance wasn't exactly the most reliable option. Now flip that. A man who holds his own opinion even when challenged, who pursues his own goals with or without her attention, who can sit in silence without anxiety, that man becomes a psychological puzzle. And women, let me tell you, are absolutely obsessed with puzzles we haven't solved yet. The fascinating research piece here is something called self-determination theory, developed by psychologists Deci and Ryan. It essentially says that humans are most attracted to other humans who demonstrate autonomy, people who act from their own internal compass rather than social pressure. When a woman sees that in a man, her brain doesn't categorize him as cold or unavailable. It categorizes him as exceptional. This is how confidence works as an attraction trigger, not by broadcasting dominance, but by radiating self-governance. And honestly, the funniest part is that most men think they need to perform confidence. They don't. They just need to actually care about their own life enough to live it. Okay, This next one is going to sound slightly alarming, but I promise the science behind it is legitimate and you are not going to use it for evil. In behavioral psychology, there's a concept called variable ratio reinforcement. It was first studied by B.F. Skinner using rats and levers, but it applies to human behavior so perfectly that casinos have been exploiting it for decades. The principle is simple. The most psychologically compelling reward schedule is not a consistent one, it's an unpredictable one. When a reward might come, but you're not sure exactly when, the brain releases more dopamine in anticipation than it does when the reward is guaranteed. Now, apply that to attraction. When a man is completely predictable, always available, always warm, always responding within 30 seconds with 3 paragraphs, the woman's brain doesn't experience that dopamine anticipation. There's no mystery to solve, no tension to resolve. And tension, emotional tension, is the engine of attraction. This isn't manipulation, it's neuroscience. Emotional unpredictability in healthy attraction looks like this. A man who is warm and present one evening, then genuinely absorbed in his own work the next. A man who gives his full attention during a conversation but doesn't manufacture reasons to keep the conversation going when it's naturally over. A man who can be playful and funny and then suddenly serious and thoughtful within the same interaction. This range of emotional expression keeps a woman's nervous system engaged. She's not anxious, she's interested. And there's a crucial distinction between those two states that a lot of people get confused. Here's the storytelling version of this. I have a friend, brilliant, funny, genuinely one of the kindest people I know, who met a guy at a work conference 2 years ago. He was attentive during the event, made her laugh constantly, and then went completely quiet for 4 days after. Not because he was playing games, he just got caught up in a deadline. She called me on day 3 in a state I can only describe as romantically feral. By day 4, she had already planned what she was going to say when she texted him first. She did. He responded casually. They've been together for 18 months. His accidental variable reinforcement schedule did more for their relationship than 3 months of perfectly consistent texting would have. That's not cynical, that's how the brain works. This next one comes straight from Robert Cialdini's foundational work on influence and persuasion, and it is almost embarrassingly applicable to attraction. Social proof is the psychological phenomenon where people assess the value of something based on how other people respond to it. It's why a restaurant with a line outside always seems better than an empty one. It's why a book that says 10 million copies sold feels more trustworthy. And it is absolutely why a man who other women visibly respect, enjoy, and respond to becomes dramatically more attractive. Here's a statistic that made me genuinely uncomfortable when I first read it. A study published in the journal Evolution and Human Behavior found that women rated men significantly higher in attractiveness when they were told other women found them desirable, even when looking at the exact same photo with no additional changes. The only variable was the perceived social opinion, and the rating jumped by a measurable margin. This is called mate copying, and it's an evolutionary shortcut the female brain uses to assess a man's relational value quickly. If other women approve of this man, if he makes friends laugh, if he commands respect in a group, if the women around him are visibly comfortable and engaged, her brain files that as evidence. And evidence, in attraction, is wildly compelling. This is how it plays out practically. A man who is kind to the waitstaff, funny with a mixed group, respected by other men, and clearly at ease in social situations triggers social proof naturally. He doesn't need to announce his value. Other people's responses announce it for him. The irony here is enormous. Men who desperately try to impress one specific woman often repel her. Men who simply live well and interact genuinely with the world around them attract her without even trying. The audience becomes the advertisement. This final trait wraps everything together, and it's the most misunderstood one on this entire list. Mystery is not silence. Mystery is not withholding. Mystery is not being cold or detached or deliberately confusing. Those are just rude behaviors dressed up in psychological clothing, and any woman with half a brain cell can tell the difference. Real psychological mystery is the result of a man who has a rich internal world, interests that go beyond surface level, opinions that he's actually thought about, goals that exist independently of any woman's approval. It's the man who, when asked, "What are you thinking about?" actually has an answer that surprises you. It's the man who reads things you haven't read, does things you haven't done, holds perspectives you haven't considered. Dr. Arthur Aaron, a social psychologist at Stony Brook University, conducted famous research on what he called the self-expansion theory of attraction. His findings showed that people are most attracted to others who expand their sense of self, who introduce them to new ideas, experiences, or ways of seeing the world. Mystery in this framework isn't a tactic. It's the natural byproduct of genuinely being an interesting, developed person. Think about this from the inside out. Every time a woman meets a man who surprises her, intellectually, emotionally, or creatively, her brain flags that interaction as significant. The brain loves novelty. It loves patterns it hasn't cracked yet. A man who keeps showing new dimensions of himself, not artificially but genuinely, becomes a person a woman cannot stop thinking about. Not because he's confusing her, because he's fascinating her. And here's the part men always miss. Mystery doesn't require withholding information. It requires having more depth than you've revealed yet. That's it. That's the whole mechanism. Be more interesting than a single conversation can contain, and you will never need to play games. Now, remember at the beginning when I said most men stumble onto one of these traits accidentally and then immediately ruin it? Here it is. The moment she starts chasing, the moment she texts first, makes the effort, initiates the plans, most men get so excited that they immediately drop every single one of these traits simultaneously. The autonomous confidence evaporates, the emotional unpredictability flatlines, the mystery dissolves overnight because he's now oversharing everything in rapid succession. And suddenly, she's lost interest and he has absolutely no idea what happened. What happened is simple. The traits that made her chase him disappeared the moment she started chasing. And the cruel psychological reality is that attraction is not a destination you arrive at. It's a dynamic that has to keep moving. The men who maintain these traits consistently, not as a strategy, but as a lifestyle, are the men who create genuinely lasting attraction. And that's the actual goal, isn't it? Not a chase. A connection that has real gravity and keeps both people interested indefinitely. So here's the summary, and I want you to actually sit with this for a second. Autonomous confidence keeps her attention. Emotional unpredictability keeps her curiosity alive. Social proof signals your value without you having to say a word. And purposeful mystery makes you the most interesting person in the room without you having to perform a single thing. None of these traits are about manipulation. None of them are about pretending to be something you're not. They are about becoming someone genuinely worth chasing, a person with direction, depth, emotional range, and a life interesting enough to make someone want to be part of it. And here's the thing I want to leave you with. The most attractive version of you is not the one anxiously refreshing your messages, calculating the perfect response time, or dimming yourself to seem less threatening. The most attractive version of you is the one who's actually living, pursuing something meaningful, holding your own space, and making other people feel like your presence is a privilege, not a default. That's not a mindset shift you make overnight, but it starts with understanding the psychology behind it. And now you do. Now, here's where I need you to pay very close attention, because what I'm about to point you to is not optional information. It is the other half of everything I just told you. You now know the 4 traits that make a woman chase you. But knowing traits is completely useless if you can't read the moment when she's already there. Because there are specific physical signals, things women do with their body and specifically with their hands, that are her way of saying, the window is open, do something. And if you miss that window, it doesn't stay open forever. It closes, sometimes permanently. The next video is called If She Does This With Her Hands, Don't Hesitate, Just Kiss Her or Lose Her. And after everything we just talked about today, that video is the missing piece. It's the translation layer between understanding her psychology and actually acting on it at the right moment. The four traits we covered today create the attraction. That video tells you exactly when she's showing you she's already attracted. Miss that signal, and all of this work disappears. Watch that video next. It's on your screen right now. Because in attraction, timing isn't everything, it's the only thing.